Let me now welcome to the stage our next speaker, Ozlem, who is a final year PhD student at the Australian National University at Canberra. Her research focuses on designing and implementing state-of-the-art quantum communication protocols to enhance the performance of quantum key distribution.
Hi everyone. So today I'll talk about how to protect your secret in the quantum era. I believe we all value our privacy, and encryption has always been the backbone of our privacy. So today's encryption methods rely on mathematical algorithms, and the most commonly used one is called RSA encryption. And before I delve into the details of RSA encryption, I would like to acknowledge the fact that Professor Adi Shamir was here with us in this conference, and he's one of the people who actually implemented RSA encryption. So I feel quite privileged to be here and talking about his work. What is RSA? So RSA encryption is basically used whenever we log into websites, we send emails, we send messages, and we make financial transactions. It is there at the back end to protect our information. So I'll try to explain RSA. Hopefully I can do a good job. Let's say Alice wants to send a message to Bob. So what Bob needs to do is he creates two keys. He creates a public key and a private key. And then he tells everybody about his public key, but he keeps the private key to himself, so nobody can actually know his private key. Then Alice will have to use Bob's public key to encode the message. Let's say he wants to say hello. She wants to say hello. She would encode the message and send it to Bob. Then Bob would use his own private key to extract the decoded message. Now, you might be wondering, if everybody knows the public key, how could this possibly be secure? Well, you see, it relies on a very hard problem. Basically, it relies on factoring large numbers, which has prime factors. And it turns out, actually, if you want to brute force the RSA encryption, it would take about 300 trillion years on a classical computer to break RSA 2048-bit encryption. So if you wanted to know someone's secret today, you'd be long dead before you can actually find out. But we shouldn't be super happy yet, because we're actually walking into something called the quantum era. So if you have a quantum computer with 4,099 stable qubits, you can actually break RSA in 10 seconds. And I will just quickly recap to Professor Klitzing's talk, where he actually said, if you use a noisy quantum computer, it would take about 8 hours. So it would be a little bit, longer, but you still can do it in comparison to 300 trillion years. So this brings us to the end of RSA, and the question is, okay, what do I do? How do I keep my information secret, or how do I keep my research secret, bank details secret in the quantum era? This is where my research comes into place, and one of the proposed solutions is called quantum key distribution, or QKD in short. So this is a recap. This is RSA encryption. In RSA encryption, you're sending an encoded message, right? And the difference between RSA and QKD is that in QKD, you're actually encoding a key onto a quantum state, and you're sending the key. You're not sending a message. So this is a distribution of keys. So Alice basically would encode the key onto a quantum state, send it to Bob, then Bob would have to perform a measurement to extract the key. So why is QKD unconditionally secure? There's something called no cloning theorem, and Professor Handel actually talked about this the other day, so I'll just quickly mention what it is. So when I create a quantum state, to an outsider, this is an unknown quantum state. So you can't actually clone an unknown quantum state. If you wanted to clone it, you have to perform a measurement. And in quantum mechanics, this is very fundamental. The moment you actually perform a measurement on a quantum state, you destroy the state. And this also introduces errors, and these errors are actually detectable by Alice and Bob. So you can basically predict, or you can know when there's someone who's listening, and you can abort your protocol. All right, let's have a look at how actually QKD works to understand this theorem a little bit better. So the first proposed protocol is called BB84 protocol. Let's say Alice wants to send a key. She has two choices. So she can actually send this key or encode the key onto the standard basis, which is the horizontally polarized light or vertically polarized light. Or she can actually encode it onto the diagonal basis, which is a light with 45 degrees of polarization or 135 degree of polarization. So in this case, let's say Alice wants to encode the key in the standard basis, and then she chooses the vertically polarized light, sends it to Bob. Eve interferes. Now he goes, okay, well, I have no idea what basis this was created in, and this is a no-cloning theorem. And she goes, okay, well, I have to take a guess. I'm going to perform a measurement in the diagonal basis. Then I'm going to create a state randomly, so they can't predict that I was listening. But as you can see, the moment she chooses the wrong basis, she introduces an error. And then she creates a random state and sends it to Bob. Then Bob also has a choice of measurement. He can either measure in the standard basis or in the diagonal basis. And he can extract the key. So basically, Alice and Bob would have to do this over and over and over again and use the classical channel to communicate back and forth which bases they used to build up enough statistics to be able to tell if there's someone who's listening. And if so, they can also find out how much they know, and they can extract a key and communicate with each other. Unfortunately, QKD is not perfect, as nothing in life is ever perfect. So we use quantum states, and quantum states are fragile. So over a certain distance, we can't actually extract a key. And the reason is because the states become too noisy, or they just lose some photons. So the question that we're trying to answer is, how can we distribute keys over large distances when we use QKD? And one of the proposed solutions is called quantum repeaters. So quick recap, in conventional QKD, you have one long quantum channel, let's say it's 100 kilometers, and you create one state. So Alice would create one quantum state and send it to Bob. So in repeaters, though, what you do is you make it a three-body problem. So you take this one long quantum channel and you divide it into two. Now you have two channels, half the distance. So you have two quantum channels, 50 kilometers. And the difference is now, both Alice and Bob would have to create a quantum state. So Alice would send a quantum state to Charlie. Bob would create a quantum state to Charlie. This is our repeater station. And remember, there is initially entanglement between Alice and Charlie and Bob, but there is no entanglement between Alice and Bob. And we're trying to establish a key between Alice and Bob. So what Charlie does is, he interferes these states and he performs a measurement, and this is called entanglement swapping measurement. So as the name suggests, the moment he does this measurement, Alice and Bob becomes entangled, and they can extract a key. All right, so based on this, we actually came up with our own repeater protocol. And the thing that we focused on is, how can we get the best key rates at each distance? And how can we actually extend the distance of QKD even further? And we focused on two things. One of the things that we focused on was, what are the best states that Alice and Bob can actually prepare? And the second question we asked is, what is the most efficient entanglement swapping measurement that we can do? Usually, in QKD protocols, like I mentioned in BB84, we actually encode the key on the polarization of light. And we said, okay, what if we actually encode the key on the photon numbers of light? So now we're actually encoding the key on, like, 0 photons, 1 photons, 2 photons, and whatsoever. And the natural answer for then Charlie's measurement became, all right, now we're going to count the total number of photons that he receives, and he's going to announce what he receives, without knowing the individual contributions he gets from Alice and Bob. Now, I want to make it very clear, in repeater protocols, we never trust the repeater station. So Charlie is never trusted. And the reason is because we're paranoid, right? Imagine you're at a war, Alice and Bob are allies, and then somehow Charlie gets compromised. You want to be able to tell that Charlie was compromised, and you don't want your enemy to find out about your key and decode the message. So this is the basic idea. We are paranoid when it comes to QKD. All right, so these are the results of our protocol. So the black line tells us the capacity. So this line here, this is the capacity when Alice and Bob are directly communicating with each other. So there is actually no repeater whatsoever. So this is the best amount of keys you can extract from the channel. And the blue line that you see here is our protocol, and the green line is the state of the art. Now, you can quickly, so basically, if you are doing above this black line, it is used as a benchmark to test the quality of the repeater protocols. You're doing great. So you should be doing above this line. If you're below this line, you need to go back and redesign your protocol. It is a bad repeater protocol. In fact, it's not a repeater. So as you can see, that our protocol was able to surpass this line actually much quicker than the state of the art. We actually showed a 21-kilometer improvement. And we were able to get better key rates at each distance. So it's a very good result. But I want to focus on something else, which is this region here, where most of the QKD protocols really struggle because it's really, really lossy. So as you can see, the state-of-the-art dies around 520 kilometers, so you can't actually extract the key. And we were able to push this distance another 24 kilometers. So yeah, in conclusion, we gave a repeated protocol with better performance than the existing protocols out there. And then we provided a new entanglement swapping measurement with higher number of photons. It can be generalized to any number of photons. And also this protocol can actually be used outside of QKD as well. It can be used for entanglement distribution, which is basically a pathway for quantum internet. And before I conclude, this is our paper. You can just scan the code if you want to read it. And if you have any questions that you can't ask during the panel discussion, you can just email me. Thank you so much.